All right, man, we are excited today to be with y'all again. Welcome to Bloodline Sports. It's always this where we talk anything and everything sports talk between family. After all, it's all relative. We got a doozy for you today. We are excited about this. We got a special guest with us. This guy started his YouTube channel in 2015. Midway through 2021, it blew up. And ever since then, it's been getting bigger and bigger. Since 2021, he has raised over $2.2 million for charity. He has gained 655,000 subscribers. That's crazy. Has visited 30 NFL stadiums, 5 countries for St. Jude, one NFL Fan of the Year in 2023. And this year alone, completed what I think is one of the greatest feats ever, raised $1 million in 1 week for the Children of the Fallen Patriots Fund. And if that wasn't enough to top it off, he got to announce a pick in this year's NFL draft. So we are excited to have him on our show. And let me show you why this guy is one of the hottest people on YouTube.
Just hold on 1 second. Just 1 second. So Jordan Love shows a lot of potential.
Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Tom Grossi.
Oh, we got intro music and everything.
Yeah!
Look at that. Thanks for having me, gang. What an intro. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's great. Juice, we got the mic is muted. Just an FYI. Just don't want you to miss any combo. I got you. That's the beauty of StreamYard. StreamYard mutes me all the time. Don't worry about it.
All right, man. Well, hey, welcome,
guys. I
Tom.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on, man. We're excited to have you. How's things going on your side?
It's crazy, man. You know, it's I would say it's the off season, but it's never really the off season, right? Especially when the Dolphins and Steelers are making trades or Aaron Rodgers signing somewhere, or you're trying to move across the country. So, you know, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but trying to just get ready for the season in September. So it's gonna take a little bit to get there, but we'll get it.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised when you put that thing out today about Darren Waller coming back into the NFL. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah. Yep. That I think even Dolphins fans were surprised with that, considering they're like, oh, these blockbuster trades that we're going to make and go get a new tight end. Nope, it's Darren Waller. So fresh off his rap career, coming on back into the NFL.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Man, I tell you, it's an ever-evolving thing, especially when you're a fan of this freaking star right here.
Oh, yeah.
It is. I mean, I can't. I don't even know why I do this to myself every year.
But every year, I mean, listen, I got to think that maybe Cowboys fans are a little bit happier with this offseason than they were in previous years, right? Actually kind of went a little bit more all in this year, going to get George Pickens, finally getting a wide receiver too, as a Raku, and getting some pass rush help, shoring up that offensive line. You have all the Tylers in the world. So, I mean, they should be still pretty good.
Oh man, I'm glad you brought that up because did we really just draft another Tyler?
Listen, it's going to be the army of Tylers, and if that doesn't win a Super Bowl, I don't know what will.
It is. Well, hey, obviously, some of the things that I talked about, man, those are some great things that you have done. I know that you started this thing back in 2015, which we started a couple of years ago. I reached out to you, just sent you an email and said, hey, man, you know, here's what I'm doing with my son. And, you know, my son started watching you. I didn't know anything about you. And then he started telling me about you. And then, you know, he is a NFL sports encyclopedia. And one day I just said, you know what? Why don't we just do something? Why don't you and I just start a podcast? You know, all these things. Let's start a podcast. And it went on from there. So, you know, I told you that I really appreciate the fact that you were a good influence on my son, because that and him talking to me about your show all the time is really what got this started.
Hey man, and it's a great bonding experience, if anything, right? I mean, because it's one you're both sharing. You obviously both love football, right? So even though it's different teams, the Rams and the Cowboys, they don't have the biggest rivalry in the world, so you don't have to worry about playing them every now and then. But I think it's why I started this in 2015, right? Like I love football and I love the Packers, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna talk about it. And then when it came to streaming, I was like, well, I'm watching all the games anyway, so might as well turn a camera on. And 10 years later, here we are.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I was born in Mexico, and obviously I became a fan of the Cowboys in Mexico. And my dad was a Cowboys fan. Obviously, we call them Vaqueros in Mexico. And one day, I think it was around 1977 or so, my dad was watching a game, and I happened to just walk by the living room, and I don't know what it was. I looked at the screen, and Roger Staubach was under center. And there was something about the light just hit that helmet right, and I fell in love with it. I mean, I was just like, from that point on, I was a Cowboys fan.
It's crazy because like they, visiting Dallas, because I'd never been before. So like even just going to the Star and doing the tour, I mean, it is one of the most recognizable sports logos like around the world, right? Mm-hmm. So, we joke on the Cowboys all the time, right? But at the same time, just in terms of like the brand and the reach that they have is pretty crazy. I mean, even if you do not like the Cowboys, you still know who the Cowboys are, right? And like their influence and Jerry Jones. I mean, even just going to all those countries that you listed in the intro, that every single place, there was at least a Cowboys fan. So they're still representing out there.
They are. It's a heartache sometimes, but it is what it is. I love my Cowboys no matter what. They can go 0-18 or whatever it is now. Probably 0-21 in a couple of years, depending on what they want to do to get more money, right?
True.
But anyways, Das, you can jump here at any time, brother. And ask Tom any questions if you want.
Okay. Well, I should probably start off with how I became a Rams fan. So growing up, my dad obviously tried to make me a Cowboys fan. I think it was the 2016 divisional round, Cowboys versus Packers. I just remember watching Green Bay kick that game winner. And from that moment, I was like, yeah, I'm not rooting for this team. I think there was something bad going on.
It's not even I'm going to root for the Packers and Jared Cook doing the tiptoe sideline grab. It's just like, I'm not going to root for the one that just lost. That's very fair. Listen, we both rebelled against our Cowboys loving father, and here we are today. And you got a Super Bowl to show for it. So yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, I think so. After that game, I was floating around for a few years because I still love the NFL. I just didn't have my team set yet. And I think it was about a few weeks into the 2021 season. Obviously, in the offseason before Matthew Stafford had gotten traded to them, and I like Matthew Stafford. Yeah. So I think I was watching their game against Tampa Bay that year. And I mean, like, just something about watching them play, I just fell in love with it immediately, and I've just never looked back.
Yeah, the Rams they're such an, obviously, they were St. Louis beforehand, but it one of my favorite Super Bowls ever, besides the Packers winning them. One of my favorite Super Bowls was the old school Rams versus the Titans, back in the day. And just, I mean, that was shown in Castaway with Tom Hanks, the 1 yard line and like reaching over and trying to get it. But yeah, the Rams have a super duper rich history. Obviously, those in St. Louis aren't the most happy that they're over in LA, but it's even similar to what you said. Even as a Packers fan, I have a ton of respect for Matthew Stafford. The guy is just a fantastic quarterback and was one of the toughest guys, and did not have a ton of help on that Lions team. So as soon as he was able to leave Detroit, I was like, okay, going to root for him because now it doesn't impact the Packers so much.
Yeah.
Well, he forgot to tell you a little tidbit too there, Tom. I'm going to embarrass him a little bit, but he jumped from the Cowboys and became a Packers fan after that game. And mind you, Dad was at that game live. So Dad comes home heartbroken, and then he tells me, Dad, I'm not a Cowboys fan anymore. I can't do it.
Can't do it. I can't. I can only see so much heartbreak because that was the year, right? That was Dak's rookie year, and it was also Zeke's rookie year, right? They were the number 1 seed, right? They were hosting
13-3.
Yeah, that was. Damn. Yeah. I mean, that was a crazy year for them too. And I mean, in terms of just as someone who can relate to this, when Rodgers won his first Super Bowl, I was like, oh man, here comes the dynasty. And they never got back. And even after that first year with Dak and Zeke, you're like, okay, like here you go. Here are the Cowboys, because they were just a very dominant team that year. Yeah. And here we are today. Neither of us have any more Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, it's crazy. I sometimes I think I cannot believe it's been 30 years since that happened. And the 90s was obviously great for us.
Sure.
We enjoyed it, and then here comes the Patriots, who to this day I still throw up every time I say Patriots. But it's one of those things that you go through transitions. You just talked about Aaron Rodgers, and then we watched that clip that we played in the beginning. You were not the happiest about Jordan Love getting drafted at that time.
Yep.
But I think it turned out pretty well for you guys, especially a couple of years ago when you guys threw us out of the playoffs.
It's so funny too, because I really wanted Patrick Queen or Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims did not work out, but Patrick Queen turned into a good player. And the only reason is because that year the Packers had gone to the NFC Championship game. They got blown out by the 49ers. And they just got Raheem Mostert ran all over them. I think it was over 300 yards. And so I was like, okay, we need a middle linebacker. We need somebody to actually stop the run. And when Jordan Love, his name started coming up a bit more as we got closer and closer to the draft. I did a deep dive with Jordan Love. This was a potential possibility. And when they drafted him, I just did not want a quarterback. And you hear me at the end, even in the clip that you played, I was like, well, he's got a lot of potential because he had thrown a ton of interceptions the year before. And that was a little not so great. But the year prior in college, he had a really, really nice season. And so I made a video that night going, hey, this is where we are now. I would have liked a middle linebacker because our defense was not getting any better. But in terms, and that whole draft was weird too, because then we went A.J. Dillon, we went running back, then we went Josiah DeGuara and went tight end when we really needed to work on the defense. But Goody and LaFleur really wanted to rebuild the offense, post Rodgers. And in terms of Love, I said it was a great position for him to go into Green Bay. He's not going to be expected to start, and he's going to be able to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, which, as you just alluded to, I think it worked out pretty well, especially when they brought Tom Clements back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was. I remember when they took him, I was like, "What are the Packers doing?" Yeah. It's almost like the Falcons. They get Kirk Cousins and then they draft Penix, and I'm like, "What?"
It might work out now. No one wants Kirk Cousins right now, but it might work out because they're already looking to move on from Cousins. So Penix is the guy. He'll age really well, but. Yeah, I mean, it's the old adage, right? The worst time to draft a quarterback is when you need one, right? I mean, look at the Jets all these years of they're reaching for Zach Wilson or guys who are just hey, we have other holes in our roster, but it's really difficult to win in the NFL without a franchise quarterback, and that's why even Dak Prescott gets paid $60 million. That's why Jordan Love gets paid $55 million. That's why Matthew Stafford got extended. These, you could have a great defense, have a great run game, what have you, but you still need at least a very good quarterback, to take you all the way. And so when you find your guy, you take some swings.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I didn't want to see the Cowboys pay that much money for Dak, but I mean, as much as I hate to say it, he's great during the season.
Sure.
But then he kind of shrinks when it gets to the playoffs, and then I watched the Packers sign Jordan Love, and then the first game, in Brazil, he gets hurt, and I'm like, uh-oh. Is this going to be because they looked really bad when it happened. I was like, I don't know, man. It doesn't look good. Luckily for y'all, it wasn't as bad as it looked. Mm-hmm. And so you do take those chances and stuff. But, again, what you said, players, you just got to pay them. It's not like everything is a sure shot when you draft somebody in the draft.
Well, it's also, I mean, even the situation that the Bengals are going through right now, right? Because the NFL is one of the leagues where they don't have fully guaranteed contracts. And so even if you want to, the Bengals, they're dealing with that with Shamar Stewart because they're trying to avoid things if he gets hurt, in his rookie deal. And of course, he doesn't want that. But even look around the league, James Cook, right? So the running back for the Bills had a phenomenal season last year, was looking for a major payday because God forbid he gets hurt this year. Right? That next contract is going to be significantly lower, and so I'm always a player first guy, but I can understand just wanting to capitalize on that and get as much money as possible. But when you're paying guys like Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, $55 million, and even Joe Burrow, $55 million, that's kind of this is the baseline. This is where it is. I mean, Brock Purdy, right? He's got $52, $53 million. So yeah, I mean, this is just where the contracts are going. And especially as, the salary cap goes up and, you have a franchise quarterback, they're always going to kind of command those big time contracts.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, as you can see on your screen there, the Dasman has all his paraphernalia back there.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get to display mine because we couldn't be in the same room. So I got, this is my display right here.
Yeah. It's just it's the Cowboys Super Bowl rings from the last 10 years. That's
right.
Same thing.
But as you can tell there, he's got a lot of WWE figures back there in the back as well. And, we're both huge WWE fans. You're a big WWE fan as well.
Just love wrestling.
We went to WrestleMania in a couple of years ago. Or it was WrestleMania 38.
Oh, nice.
And then obviously, we're sitting there watching WrestleMania 40, and all of a sudden I look and I go, "Is that Tom?" And it was. I mean, you had great seats, man.
Yeah, it was crazy because those tickets. So I took my dad because back in the day, my dad took me to WrestleMania 23 in Detroit, and we were sitting behind the stage, like nosebleed seats, obstructed view, could barely see a thing. We did a road trip from New York to Detroit, and we saw it, and that was a pretty good Mania. Batista and Undertaker, they put on a show. Money in the Bank was good, and then Shawn Michaels and Cena, and then he took us to 24, same thing, road trip down to Florida, and so I got like Ric Flair's, I'm going to use all the quotations, last match, right? with Shawn Michaels, which was great. Undertaker main event with Edge. But yeah, I mean, I've loved wrestling for a while. And there was a time where I kind of fell out of love with it and just kind of was doing other things. And I got back into it, I think actually when Jericho came back around 2008. And since then, I mean, there's so much wrestling. New Japan, AEW, it's great. And so for this, it was kind of like a Christmas / like forever gift of like, hey, let's go here. And thankfully I was able to get them pretty discounted just because people had bought them and they were just trying to get rid of them. So I was like, perfect. So I wound up buying them, and I'm so glad I did, because not only was it a really good WrestleMania, but if I was to buy those tickets for 41, they would have been more than double the price. I think those prices have gone way, 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 way up. So very thankful to have gone when I did, because as those prices continuously go up, I don't know how many more I'm gonna be able to go to.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much those tickets they are. I mean, I was gonna take DOS here to last year's WrestleMania or this year, where it was in it was Las Vegas, yeah. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't afford that.
No, I mean, like it was nuts. I mean, like, listen, they were a good amount of money, but just I remember calling second row. So the exact seats that I was in for 40, they would have been $53,000. And I was like, no, I was like, even if I wanted to, no, like I can't. So,
right.
Yeah, it's insane. And listen, that's just sold TKO, and obviously, they're doing really, really well, and they're making a ton of money. But yeah, I mean, I'll be in Texas going to All In about a week and a half here, so those were a lot more affordable.
Well, man, you know how hot it gets in Texas. So.
Yes, I'm assuming that Texas Rangers Stadium going to be closed, because July in Texas, I've been June in Texas, and that was not a walk in the park either.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it's bad. It is bad. I actually just went to a Texas Rangers game this past weekend, and let me tell you, the heat was miserable. I mean, like, I'm glad they had the roof closed, but just even walking in and out of the stadium, it was not fun at all. So,
yeah. It'll be interesting a week from Saturday to see what that heat is like. But hey, it's for Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, so it's worth it.
Okay. Yeah, well, I watch quite a bit of AEW. The Dasman doesn't watch AEW as much. Obviously, I don't watch it as much because my man is now in WWE. Penta has moved over to WWE.
Penta has gone over. And Ray Phoenix, too. I mean, eventually they'll put them together. And, hey, listen, he's getting a good push, too.
So, yeah. But anyways, hey, listen, let's do a little rapid fire with you. Sure. So let's do this. Favorite drink?
Favorite drink? Water or Allagash White. Right. Primarily the two things I drink. So yeah, as I have my glass of water right here.
All right. Favorite movie?
Ooh. Ever? Oh, that's tough. Comedies has to be Spaceballs or Airplane. I then it depends on the day. Favorite sci-fi probably in the last like 15 years, probably Arrival is a really, really great film. Yeah, I'd probably go with one of those. I'm also a big fan of Casablanca. It's the old classic in there.
Yeah. All right. TV show?
Oh man, Breaking Bad's great. I grew up in high school. I was Lost. I was a big Lost fan. I would say The Leftovers is one of my favorite shows to ever come out. It was an HBO series for about. It was the guy who did Lost too, but that was an excellent show.
Yeah. Another favorite sport besides the NFL?
Ooh, so I'm a huge soccer fan. So I played a lot of soccer. I was the tallest person on the team, so they just threw me in goalie because I had lanky arms. So I love playing soccer. It's probably one of my favorite sports to play behind football. But I will say recently, within these last few years, I've really gotten into hockey. And playoff hockey has just been like, it's just fun. Like, don't have to have any affiliation, but it's so fast paced. It's so quick. And the playoffs are just, they're one of the best like playoff formats in sports. So yeah. Becoming a big hockey fan during when the NFL season's over.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because just earlier this year, we went to a Dallas Stars game, and it's hard to follow the puck on TV, but I will tell you, when we were there live, it was so easy to follow the puck.
Yep.
And it was one of the best experiences that we've had. And obviously our Stars couldn't get it done again. But it's one of those sports that Das and I have come to love the most besides baseball. I mean, we're big Dodger fans. Yeah. And so for us, it's probably baseball at first because, it's the Dodgers, and then football and then hockey. But man, hockey is a very exciting
watching hockey live. Because I mean, I don't know. So even like I love football, obviously, right? But I think you can make a really strong argument that the TV product of football is better than in person, right? Like, and in terms of hockey, it's exactly what you said. I think the in-person experience and just seeing it up close and just like how fast these guys move is crazy. Like it's a phenomenal like live sport to go and see if you have the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Dash, you got any questions for Tom?
Well, so obviously, we mentioned earlier you were one of the main inspirations for us to start this. So I wanted to ask you, what was your main inspiration, other than just loving football and watching it all the time, to start your podcast 10 years ago?
Yeah, so it's literally one game. So it was the Seahawks-Packers NFC Championship game. So at that time, I had gotten tickets to go see like a show. Like it was Avenue Q with like puppets and stuff. And when I got the tickets like months before, and it just so happened that was when the NFC Championship game was on, which killed me because my team was on it. So I'm sitting there, we're against the Seahawks. There's a guy in front of me with a Marshawn Lynch jersey. We're both just checking, in our 2015 like flip phones, like trying to connect to the internet and trying to see what's going on. And we got out of the show, and there was about 5 to 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Packers were up a decent amount. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go celebrate. Like my team's going to go to the Super Bowl. So we're in Manhattan, and we found this bar. I paid way too much for a beer, and I was like, all right, I'm going to watch my team go to the Super Bowl. And literally, like, as soon as I sat down, they fully collapsed, and obviously they lost that game. And that was a very long train ride, a very quiet train ride home. And I sat with it for 2 days because I waited until Tuesday. I sat with it for 2 days, and I was just like, how did that happen? Like, just everything that had to go wrong. The onside kick, the fake field goal that resulted in a touchdown, the overtime, like, throw, all these things that went wrong. And I was like, man, like if I wasn't a Packers fan, like I would find, like, you have to find the humor in this, right? Of there's like because there were so many things that went wrong. And so I sat on my couch that I'm looking at right now. I had a Sony camcorder, which is right here. So I had this camcorder that was not very good, and I hadn't really used it a ton, but I put it on a tripod, and there was no audio. Like it was like there was no microphones. There was no lighting. And I just shot this video of a fan reaction to this. And that was my way to like process the loss too. It was my own personal therapy. And that back in 2015 got like 60,000 views, which I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I think I made, like $20 on it. But that a bunch of Packers fans reached out to me and were like, hey, like, this is the first time I laughed in like 2 days, especially about that game. And so because of that, I started Packcast later that year. And every week I just brought on a fan from the opposing team. I did 2 episodes a week. One was recapping the Packers game and one was previewing it with the opponent. And yeah, that's how it started.
Man, that's great. And one of the things that obviously makes your channel so popular is the every NFL fan reaction to whatever. And you talked about how you did this the first one and it just took off from there, right? I mean, it's just like that one.
So yeah, I mean, because the Packers one, like, it did well, and then the Seahawks lost on the 1-yard line, which made me feel really good. But that did like okay. And then with the podcast, honestly, I didn't even do it on YouTube for like the first full year. I was just doing it and I was just talking to people. Like, that's how I met Brandon Perna. Like, that's how I met a few people because they were just fans. And just over the years, I started putting more and more on YouTube. But I tell this to people all the time. Like, no one was watching. I would take 3 hours to do an interview between recording, prepping for it, recording it, and then rendering it on my laptop. And, we'd have 10 people watch it. So it was just a matter of, okay, like changing up the content a little bit and still keeping the interviews, but then doing more news episodes and like breaking news episodes. And I knew that I didn't really have great equipment and like the audio wasn't good, the lighting wasn't good. But if I was home, I knew I can get it out quickly, right? Yeah. Because I could just let it rip. And then so that kind of just evolved into, all the skits that we have today and then all that. But I mean, there's been, I think it's over 4,300 videos have been put out since 2015, and the majority of them have been since 2018. So yeah. And then in 2019, I put out content at least 5 days a week and I haven't missed a day. So yeah, it's a grind, but I mean, it just was, you just kept going until we're at where we're at.
And I mean, we started on Spotify. We were just an audio podcast, and like you said, we will record our episode, which was, about an hour. And then by the time we record and get all that stuff, editing and all that, I mean, it takes quite a bit of time to do that. And so this is not an easy thing to do. And then, obviously we switched over to YouTube because, Das here wanted to go to YouTube. He's always wanted to have a YouTube channel. Sure. And so we did that. And it's not as much task wise, editing the audio was quite a task for me. Yeah. This is not as much it is, but I think we've gotten better over the years that we don't have to do as much editing, but it's still a grind, like you said. And I cannot even imagine what you do on an everyday basis. I mean, this is just, putting out all the content that you do out is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like it got to a point where in 2018-19, I started thinking about like, oh, maybe this could be like an actual path. Like maybe something can come of this. Because I was a full-time teacher from 2015 to 2021. So I was just doing both, and once I started putting out content 5 days a week, I was like, okay, I mean, I would get that last year, that COVID year. I mean, I tell this all the time. Like I got 3 hours of sleep a night for an entire school year because I would be going to bed at 2:30, waking up at 5:30, going to teach, coming back, and then doing everything that I had to do here. So yeah, I mean, it's what I tell people all the time. It's just like, I just do it because I love it, right? I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for fame. I just did it because I like to talk about the Packers and I like to talk about football. And, I wouldn't have done it for as long as I have, especially in the beginning when no one was listening, if I didn't love it. And so like, it just grew and grew and grew. And, I thought it was my priority to make sure, okay, if I'm able to finally do something, because I've only been full-time with just this for 4 years out of the 10 years I've been doing this. And so it's grown significantly, but that also has fueled like, okay, now we got to make sure we give back because, I'm so grateful to be able to do this every day.
Yep. And that's one of the best things that, that anybody that watches your channel is what you do for charity and how much you give back. I mean, it is crazy to watch you do that, but not only the fact that you're doing it, it's the people that are donating to you to make this happen. It is an unbelievable thing to watch, and I sit there, I think sometimes, could I raise $1 million in a week, but it just means that there's still a lot of good people out in the world, and kudos to you for what you're doing, man. I mean, I think that's great. Not a lot of people do that. A lot of people become famous on YouTube and they don't give back, and that is
Sure.
the one thing that I notice about you is that you always give back. Like you say, your channel has always been free, and it
Always
will
will be.
always be free.
Yep.
And
Never
kudos to you for that as well.
Well, I mean, I think that is a big reason why I'm able to do what I do, right? And like I have raised more, we have raised more money for charity than I've ever made, like in 10 years, which is what's supposed to be, right? But it comes down to a point where like there's no sponsors, there's nothing like that. I'm not trying to sell you anything. And I think just because I'm not actively monetizing my audience, right? And just trying to bleed them for money and be like, oh, buy this product and do this. And I think that the only time I ever ask the audience for money is when we're doing fundraisers, right?
Yeah.
It's a free show. And so I got to a point where if I put out content 5 days a week, I could pay my bills, right? Like I'm at that point. So people donate. It's incredibly kind of them. I'm never going to ask them to, just to me personally. I'm very grateful that they do. It has allowed me to do a ton of things because 30 and 30 would not have happened without that, right?
Yeah.
International, because those are all self-funded. And so, yeah, I just think that that's a big part of it, when you just treat your audience like with respect and just like, yeah, I'm grateful for every single person that has the time to watch, especially nowadays, right? I mean, when football's not the priority. And on top of that, there's so many options out there. There's so much going on. And so if people are like, all right, I'm going to give you my attention and my time, the least I can do is, try to do right by those people.
Yeah. All right. Well, got a couple of minutes left with you, man. I know you're busy and you got other things going on. So, Das, is there anything else you want to get in there before we let Tom go?
I mean, like nothing else really besides. I just want to ask your opinion on how this upcoming season, how you think each of our three teams are going to do.
Sure. Yeah, I think for the Rams, starting with them, getting Devontae Adams, I think, is a huge weapon. They lost Cooper Kupp, but if you watched Cooper Kupp last year, it wasn't the best. He's still productive, right? But I think it's going to be diminishing returns, for them to release him and him go to a division rival in the Seahawks. I don't think that's a huge loss. But getting Devontae Adams, who I still think has a couple of great seasons left in him, that's going to be just a great weapon. And considering freaking how good Puka is, that should be a pretty dynamic offense, especially if they're able to keep that run game going and having a balanced attack. And we saw what their pass rush was able to do, right? I mean, like they destroyed the Vikings. Thank you for that in the wild card round. And then you saw what they went toe to toe with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? So I think that unless you have a really good offensive line, going against the Rams is going to be pretty difficult. So I think the Rams, they're going to be favored to win the NFC West. I don't see, the 49ers, will see what they do. They have a little bit of an easier schedule. The Seahawks are kind of in this weird rebuild, but I like what they did on the O-line. It just depends on if people stay healthy and how Sam Darnold does. And the Cardinals are a sleeper, but they've been my sleeper for the past few years just because they added some folks on defense. We'll see how Marvin Harrison Jr. does. He improved near the end of the season. But I think the Rams should win that division. And then from there, we'll kind of see what happens in the postseason. For the Cowboys, like we mentioned before, I think that their additions in the offseason, especially getting a wide receiver too, is going to be super helpful. And as long as Pickens can stay out of trouble, they should be fine because they tried to go get oh my goodness, oh man, I'm blanking on his name. Hold on. It wasn't hold on. Oh man, he's been traded a cajillion times. The deep threat that you got for wide receiver too, who, oh man, I'm blanking on his name. I'm so sorry, but he did not work out. Yeah, so I think that just getting a pass rush, and I don't know about your head coach, that's Schottenheimer is a little interesting, but just a little unproven in terms of being a head coach. But I think that they should be a competitive team as long as Dak is healthy. The only thing is, though, the Giants, their defense should be better. Their offense, who knows what that's going to look like. The Eagles are still the Eagles. I think that the Eagles are going to be really good this year. And then the Commanders, making it to the NFC Championship game, I think surprised a ton of people. Jane Daniels played really, really well. But I think that the Cowboys are going to be fighting for the 2-3 in the East. I still think it's the Eagles. And then for the Packers, man, the NFC North is going to be a gauntlet, right? The Lions, there are definitely some questions. They improved their secondary by getting DJ Reed. They're losing both coordinators. We're going to kind of see what kind of impact that has on them. But they have a window, and with Hutch coming back, their pass rush should be better as long as Hutchinson is healthy. Bears, we say this every year, they're off-season champions. We'll see if they actually put it together. I don't think Caleb Williams really has any excuses. They probably had the best offseason that they could have had. They went and got the most coveted head coach candidate out there in Ben Johnson. And yeah, I actually really like what they're doing on defense too. So I think that they should be a bare minimum competitive team. And the Vikings, they have a really, really strong supporting cast. We just don't know about JJ McCarthy, which, as we talked about with quarterbacks before, that's how the NFL functions, right? So if he's good, they'll be good. If he's not, they won't be the best. And then for the Packers, man, I mean, like their defense, I have questions about their pass rush, and I have questions about their secondary, especially corner depth. But the safety unit's been great. Linebacker core, we should get a ton out of, especially with Edgerrin Cooper having the year that he did last year. And then, of course, talk about the offense. Jordan Love, a bit inconsistent, of course, was dealing with that injury last year. But in terms of the weapons they have, Josh Jacobs was great last year. They added 2 new receivers on top of that. So, and they got more protection, in the draft in the second round, and also go and getting Banks from the 49ers. So I think that their offense is going to be really, really good, and it's just going to see like where that defense is going to be. So for the Packers, man, I think they could be second, they could be third, they could finish the first within the division, but man, like I think we're just going to have to take a look and see what happens in November, because that division is going to be a gauntlet.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely right. Unless you're like the guys that I watched earlier who predicted that both the Lions and the Vikings are not going to the playoffs, but the Patriots and the Bears are.
Listen, the Patriots and Raiders should be a much improved team. I don't know if they're a playoff team yet, just because, especially the Raiders, they're in a little bit of a tougher division. But the Patriots, man, if Drake May's that guy, they added some weapons. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, Tom. So last thing.
Yeah.
If you laugh, you lose.
All right.
So I'm going to show you something. So if you laugh, you lose.
Got it.
And then we'll end it with that.
I like it. I mean, like, we're just spreading lies on the internet, like that's fine. It's I was at that game with my father, the diehard Cowboys fan. That was a long drive back to Chicago to catch that flight. So that was one of us was very unhappy in that car ride, and it was not me.
I think a lot of people are still salty over that, but you know what? I will say this. That did not cost the Cowboys the game.
No.
DeMarco Murray fumble is what cost the Cowboys the game.
Oh, I remember DeMarco Murray. Yep. And you know what? Listen, it's so funny because that happened. Then the Packers had their heart broken the next week by the Seahawks. And then 2 weeks later, the Seahawks had their heart broken by the Patriots. So no one from the NFC was happy at the end of the day. That was just a rough year.
Yep. Well, hey, man, thanks for joining us again. Really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us.
Thanks so
Keep
much
doing what you're doing. You're a beautiful human being with everything that you're doing with the fundraising and everything. We'll continue watching you and your journey. And hopefully this year, before it ends, you will get those last 144 that you're looking for.
I think February.
I am rooting for you to get to 1 million subscribers.
And then I'm going to take a nice break. And then we're going to do 30 and 30.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
Man. Well, thanks for coming on. The what? I'm sorry.
One's up for the Bloodline, of course. Bloodline.
Oh, yeah.
One's up for the Bloodline.
Yep. That's his tribal chief there. That's basically where our name came from. So, all right, man. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today. And as always, we hope you enjoyed this as we enjoy bringing it to you. And this is Bloodline Sports. It's all relative.
Goodbye, everyone.